Okay, so thank you everyone for joining us with the SMAX user group for February the 7th. Today's session is a capability deep dive. We're going to look at some of the features and functionality that we brought in as part of the last couple of releases. As always with these SMAX user group sessions, they are bi-weekly. You're welcome to look on the obviously the tiny.cc/SMAXUG to go to the topics and listings. We have now, as of this week, added in, I think the next 6 sessions, so up until end of April kind of time, so you can see them and add them to your calendar. But you're always welcome to come back to us on the hour during the time when we're set to run, just like today. So as we said, as always, we will go through the latest patch releases, what's happening there, and then we're going to go through a bit of a deep dive. So I've kind of grouped them in. I've got the wider team to help create some videos for us for today's session on all the new features. So we're going to do a little touch base on the updates with notification history. Then we're going to show you an update around better support for operations orchestration rules within dev-to-prod, within package management. We'll switch topics and we'll do a little bit about mobile. So we're going to cover some of the new features that came in 23.4, some of the little minor improvements that we made that maybe you weren't aware of, things like the account page and followers and what have you. And then we're going to do a little bit more of a dive onto the studio apps for mobile capability and how you set that up. And then we've got 3 topics all related to native SACM, so subtype mapping, filtering for the CI relationships, and reducing the index field for SACM entities. Some quick updates around them, and it's all by the wonderful technical success team that put these all together. So big thanks to them. And then we'll go wrap up and talk about what we've got coming up in future sessions. So to begin with, just as a reminder for those of you who may not have had a chance to watch the 24.1 release readiness that we did in January, we are now moving to a quarterly release cycle with SMAX. So what does that mean? Well, that means that every quarter, and we've actually shifted 1 month to previous to what we were doing before. This is to align with the way OpenText releases and has their strategies. But for us, our odd number releases, so 24.1 and what would be 24.3, are what we call more aligned to patch type releases. So the update effort is comparable to a patch. There's a focus more on fixes rather than enhancements with them, but should be a fairly easy for you to upgrade. Whereas the 24.2, 24.4 releases are what we are used to, what you may be used to us doing as part of previously when we did 6-month release cycles. The other thing to note as part of that is that also means that when it comes to our patch release cycle, we'll use that as an excuse to move to the next slide. You'll notice that we don't have a new patch for 23.4, and that's because 24.1 is in essence the third patch for 23.4. So to avoid confusion, what that means is if you're on 23.4, you want to move to 24.1 P1. That's to be on the latest patch. So a little bit about the patches. So for 23.05, patch 9 has been released. That includes 8 fixes for the SMA stack. Also, obviously read the appropriate notes about that, especially if you have enabled Service Manager, Service Portal, so the mix mode setup. There's some specific notes around that, and obviously be aware of the additional admin related tasks from previous patches that may be needed. If you are running 23.4 or have already moved to 24.1 upgrade, please be aware that there's one new patch 1 is now out, which has got one new feature for FinOps and 15 fixes across SMA and then 3 for CMS. There's also there was no actual release for 24.1 of OO, and I put this note in here just a reminder. There is a OO containerized patch 24.1 P1, which actually brings the parity in the version number. So the OO containerized didn't have the actual parity in terms of naming, so if that causes confusion. But it was all nicely written out and explained on the patch notes. So obviously head over to the docs.microfocus.com portal, head down to look at 24.1 and you'll be able to see the patch notes there. As a reminder, always make sure you review any additional steps with any of the previous patches on the version you are, just in case there are some administrative tasks that are needed. That is all documented. And for our SaaS customers, just to make you aware that we're deploying patch 1 for 24.1 at the same time as applying the 24.1 update. So please refer to your public cloud support notifications or the Service Health page for exact timing of when that is going to occur. Obviously, it's different depending on which farm you are running on. All right, so that's all for our patch releases. Moving on, let's go into the main plans for today's session. So our capability deep dive. As I said, I got the team to put some of this together, so hopefully this should all run nice and smoothly. And we'll go forward. And producer, just in case, let me know if the audio doesn't play, but we should be all right for when it runs.
Today, we're going to review the changes for the notification history in the 23.4 release. Notification history provides a record of all the emails that are sent from a SMAX tenant. Notification history only captures emails that are sent from a specific tenant. It won't capture emails such as user activation, which are not linked to a tenant. When we view the notification history grid, we can see a number of things that are captured. The record ID refers to the entity where the email has originated. In this example, a request was created and a notification sent to the owner. On the notification grid, you can see a few different statuses, success or failure, obviously meaning the email has successfully been sent or not. If we click on the ID to open the notification event, in this case 24077, note that this is not the request ID, it's the notification ID. In this example, 23630 is the request ID. When you select the item in the grid, it gives you more details. When you click on the view on the email template, you can see the email template being sent. On the recipient grid, we'll see a success or failed because it's specific to the user. An email notification can only have recipients in the two fields. The CC and BCC are not supported. If there is a failure to an email, a new feature has been added that will allow us to resend notifications to all failed users. We would click on the button. When we click the resend,
It seems frozen to me.
Yeah, it seems frozen, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Let me. And the audio is coming through. Okay, is it?
It had
It
been
was,
until just
it
now.
was, yeah.
Okay. Let me.
sending history button on the left,
Oh,
we can
good.
see all the attempts that were made. In this case, we can see partially succeeded because not all notifications were sent. And this, of course, would require additional information to determine why the email wasn't sent. So here is a specific use case. So let's say that a user has created a ticket, but they never got a notification indicating that it had been opened or closed or anything. So we can see here we have a request, 2373. My email is not working today. If we look in the history tab, we can see all of the entries for when emails were sent. We can then click on the view details, which takes us to the notification history. We can see in this case, SMAX thinks it has successfully sent the email. So we need to examine maybe why it was not sent. So when we review the user, we see a 1 has been added to the user's email address. So in this case, the issue was only that the incorrect email address occurred. Now we were able to rule out a number of problems because SMAX thinks it had successfully sent the email. So now we'll review the second use case. So this use case is that the user, once again, didn't receive any emails. However, we'll see that there's a different cause this time. We click on history. We see our tab. We'll click view details. And in this case, we can see that SMAX didn't send the email, but SMAX knows that it didn't send the email. So the cause of this is slightly different. Now, one of the things we can do is we can consult our mass notification log. So if we scroll down here, we can see this is in the platform folder. In this case, we had an exception. And if we look in the exception, we can see mail not sent due to failure. So this is the error that we saw in the notification group. And as we scroll down, we actually see what the problem was. And that was the SMTP server itself didn't recognize the domain and it didn't send the email correctly. So this is where any information for failures may be logged. So it's a standard location in the global volume logs folder.
All right, cool. So that's notification history.
Today we're going to review the changes
now to the next one.
We now have a better dev to product support for OO rules. As you may know before, the OO rules needs to be reconfigured after the dev to product before. And it's a heavy workload for the customer if they have a lot of OO integration related business rules. In 23.4 release, after a dev to product synchronization, your OO business rules can be continued to work in the target tenant without the need of any manual reconfiguration, as long as the same OPB agent name and same OO endpoint name. So the key point is make sure the agent name and OO endpoint name are exactly the same in the source and target tenant. So for example, we have agent 1 in source tenant and the OO endpoint name is OO. So in the target tenant, make sure the agent name is the agent 1 and the OO endpoint name is OO. So after that, when you export a package from the source tenant and then import to the target tenants, all the OO related business rules are populated correctly. No manual correction is needed anymore. The solution is we use an endpoint name to match or associate with an endpoint instead of the endpoint ID. And we use the UUID or the global ID of the OO flow to associate with an OO rules instead of the flow ID, because the endpoint ID and the flow ID is different in different environment.
This particular section is going to go through looking at the new features that have come as part of mobility. So the first feature is looking at following a request and public request support. Feature overview for following request and public request support. The 23.4 release of the mobile app provides the following functionality: view, add, delete followers in my private request tracking page, view my following requests and unfollow any of them, and view public requests and follow any of them. The view, add, delete followers in the private request tracking page. When in the request details page, there is now a new icon, which is shown here. The followers icon will show who is following this particular request. If you tap the followers icon, it will be shown a screen like this. So as it presently shows, there's no actual followers currently following that request. It's also possible to add a user to follow the request by just tapping on the plus button in the top corner. It's possible to select the user by checking the checkbox or even searching for a certain user. So here you can see you can just tap on the checkboxes to select individual users, or you can actually then, in this case, enter in end user 2 and then do a search. And as you can see, just one user is then shown, and then you literally just tap the checkbox, and then that user is then added to the list. Show selected users. Within the followers page, while adding users to follow the request, it's possible to see exactly which users have been selected by selecting the slider Show Selected Items button. So here you can see there's been 4 selected users for this particular request. And once you then click Done, all of those are then added as followers to that particular request, and then the screen is shown like this when you're actually looking at the followers. To remove a follower is very simple. You can just look at the different names on the list, swipe left, and with that you can simply just remove that follower from the list. Once you've actually done that, as you'll notice on here, the number for the followers has been reduced, and the first user, Caffrey, has now also been removed from the list. So if we were to look at it from a following user, so how does the mobile app work from the point of view of a follower? There's now 2 additional tabs at the top of my request page, Following and Public, which are highlighted here. Originally in the mobile app there was only the open and close, so now 2 new tabs have now been added. The counts get updated each time the user is added to a follower to a request. And to get up-to-date counts, sometimes a user might need to refresh the page, and in order to do this you just swipe down. To unfollow a request is quite simple. The user can select the request within the Following tab. They can view all the details about the request. There is also the option to unfollow the request. Click Unfollow, and this removes the user from the following list on the request. The user will receive a message to say that the action has been performed successfully after clicking Unfollow. And then if we have a look here, now that we've removed end user 2 from the list, it's literally just showing 2 users left, Adrian Bax and Alanis Puri. View public requests. You can choose to order a public request. Another user can then see this request as well as choose to then follow that request. So what does that look like? View the public requests. User can choose to order a public request. It's shown here. Another user can then see this request as well, choose to then follow that request. So as we can see, this has been ordered. And then here within the public tab is then possible to see exactly the same request that was ordered here. Once a public request has been submitted, there's now an icon showing the request as public, which is shown here. From the end user 2 perspective, they can see the newly created requests within the public request tab. To follow a public request, a user can follow the request simply by tapping on Follow this request. Once the user taps on Follow this request, the request is moved from the public tab to the Following tab. So as you can see, this is the button that the user can tap on. And then once they've actually tapped on it, as you can see here in the tabs at the top, the request has been removed from public and is now within the Following, and then with that it's now shown in the list same as what's over here. Following a public request, the user who created the public request can also see who is following their request. Simply tap on the public request they created, then tap on the Following button, and the list of users shows who is actually following that request. So as you can see on here, we've just got the 1 user that's following this public request. New account page feature overview. In the 23.4 release of the mobile app provides the following functionality. Add About page in the mobile app and its branding works. Provide app version number. Only change app's language without changing the system language, and change the person avatar. As part of the 23.4 release, the mobile app settings are now being added to a separate tab within SMAX application settings. Previously, all the same settings would have all been under the application settings. So there's now the new tab here, and with that, the user can then decide what actions need to be taken as far as the mobile app. The next feature is looking at the account page. With this, there's now the ability to actually see the app version on the About page. So as part of the 23.4 release, the account page now shows the app version, which as you can see here, and then if you tap on that, you can then go inside and you get the disclaimer and warning showing all the information to do with this updated app. The account page also has the means of changing the language within the app itself. So as part of the 23.4 release, the account page now allows the user to change the language within the mobile app without needing to change the language on the phone itself. For example, the user can change the language to Chinese. So if you tap where it says language, you can then scroll through. Here you can then basically select Chinese and then click on the OK. And then with that, the app will get reloaded, and with that, it'll show everything within Chinese. The advantage with being able to do this now is the fact that you don't need to change the overall language on the phone just to be able to get likes of Chinese to show. The final feature on the account page is the ability to actually edit the avatar. So up here, you now have the means of being able to click on Edit Avatar. With that, you can then use either an existing photo from the camera phone's photo library, or you can basically use a photograph that you want to take and then just choose that, click OK. With that, the image is then updated here within the avatar window. For custom application support, the feature overview, you've got within the 24.1 release the ability to configure which custom applications are to be displayed within the mobile app. After adding a custom app, users can search for, view and edit records within the agent mobile mode. If custom apps are defined with approval plans, then in the service portal mode of the mobile app, user can approve that custom application record. The mobile app settings, there is now a new setting for custom applications. So where in the previous 23.4 release, there's a new tab added within the application settings for the mobile app. There's now a new section here, which is basically for custom applications. And with that, depending on what applications have been installed within the tenant, you'll then be able to get a list of those showing within the drop-down menu. So it's simply just a matter of click on whichever is the actual custom applications that are required, and then once you've chosen the ones that need to be added, just click on Save, and with that, all of those custom applications will then be able to be seen within the mobile app. After updating the mobile app settings within the SMAX tenant, one of the important aspects to make sure that an operator of the mobile app does is refresh the app, just in case they're sort of suggesting that the custom apps aren't showing. So with that, once they've refreshed the screen, it should then be able to be seen with all the different custom apps that was then added in the previous step. One of the features within adding a custom app is the My Views. So with that, you can now actually see different custom app records within the My Views screen. So when you tap on Edit and then select Add as shown here, so you can literally just tap there, You can then be shown the relevant record types along the top, and if there's a certain view that is available to be added within that record type, so in this case in approval plans under capacity plan, you literally just click on the plus button and then that will add that to the My View screen. When adding custom app records, only record types that have been added within the mobile app settings page will be displayed. Here it's possible to see the full list of record types the mobile app is able to see. The SMAX tenant might have more custom apps, but these won't be visible within the mobile app until they've actually then been added when you're using the settings page for the mobile app. So here you can see within the original example there was 3 custom application record types, and with that here you can see that basically there's just capacity plan and capacity review that was actually added in. After updating the My Views, if you go back to the agent home screen, now you can see there are 2 additional views that are basically showing up on the My View screen, one for capacity plan, one for capacity review. And then if you were to actually then tap on, say for instance, the capacity plan, you can then drill in and see further information about that actual capacity plan. So again, you can basically use it as no different to how the out-of-the-box record types were used within My Views. Another feature that's now being enabled within the mobile app is the ability to do a global search based upon a custom app record type. The key in order to be able to do this is within Studio, make sure under the global search tab that the enable global search is ticked, and then once that's been ticked, save. So in this case, what we'll show is it's being enabled for the capacity plan, but for the capacity review, it's not being enabled. So what that basically would mean is if we were to search for any sort of record types that are of a capacity plan, capacity review within the mobile app, mainly the only ones that we'd actually be able to be seen is anything with the capacity plan. The capacity review won't return any record types. So global search to find a custom record. Only record types that have global search functionality enabled as shown in the previous slide set. In this example, only records of a capacity plan can return a result as the capacity review doesn't have the global search enabled. So we'll run a search for the AWS storage. The results are then returned. So as you can see here, we've typed into the search AWS storage, and then with that, as you can see at the top of the list, we've now got a capacity plan that's being returned. There's no records of capacity review, so after that you can see there's articles, devices, etc. So there's nothing showing because it's not being enabled. It's then possible to tap on this particular record and with that be able to drill down and be able to see the information based upon what's in that record. To remove a custom app from the mobile app settings, if a customer needs to remove a custom application from the mobile app, it's just as simple as how the application was added. When you click within the box, click on the X next to the custom app, and that will remove. Here you can select one or more apps to be removed from the mobile app. Once the app or apps have been removed, click on Save and wait for the confirmation message to say that the updated settings have been saved correctly. And here you can see basically there's a couple of the apps that we've got, and you literally just click on the X's and then click Save. After updating the mobile app settings, again, it's important to make sure that the actual mobile app itself is refreshed. So once you've refreshed the app, you can also see here that the My Views have been updated, and with that the capacity plan, capacity review record types are no longer on My View screen. Also, when we ran a search before and we found a capacity plan record type, if we were to try and search for that entity again and then do a search, what you'll then see is no results are found because, again, those custom maps have been removed from the mobile app.
Hello everyone, thanks for watching. Today I will introduce the two enhancements of the native SecCom in this release: subtype mapping and bottom-up CLI relationship filtering. Okay, let's get started. Let's talk about the first part, subtype mapping first. Why do we want to enhance this part? It's because many customers notice that the CI subtypes differ between SMAX and CMS. Here I draw a diagram showing how it happened. Initially, the UD detected CI and created it into CMS. And the SD type in the CMS is null. After a while, the CI was synchronized from CMS to SMAX through the CMS gateway. And then you will notice a new CI created in the SMAX, and the subtype is null too. We have the out-of-box enrichment rules to support this second in the CMS. We noticed it was triggered and changed the IC type from null to infer service. A similar thing happened. We have some out-of-box business rules to support this SecCom in SMAX. When the rule triggered, we noticed the CI subtype was changed from null to business service in the SMAX. The issue occurs, and those two changes are synchronized to the other side. You can see here, IC type of the CI in the CMS was changed from infer service to business service, and the subtype in the SMAX was updated from business service to infer service. That's a problem. We want to have this new enhancement to solve this kind of a problem. Here is the solution. We no longer rely on the enrichment rules on the CMS anymore. All of them are disabled. And we control the CI subs through the SMAX business rule and then synchronize to CMS. Here is a screenshot of the device business rule. And we added many business rules under the after change phase to achieve the goal. The same thing for the other three native SecCom entities, like actual service, system element, and service component. Okay, let's check the details of this business rule. And you may notice we have this a new expression from this release, this so-called set type of. It will go to CMS and check if the CI type belongs to any parent type in the CMS. This sample will check if the CI type in the CMS under type host node. Here is a document link, and please be aware that this new expression only supports the native SecCom solution and does not support the traditional CMS SMAX integration based on the OPB. You will get an error if you use it with an OPB solution. Okay, let's move on. Okay, let's move to the second part, bottom-up CLI relationships filtering. Firstly, let's check the business values. Sometimes, the VM is crashed, and then we also want to know which services are impacted by this crashed VM. This is supported in the traditional SMAX OPB CMS integration. However, It does not supported by the native SECOM solution. Let's compare the top bottom and the bottom up. It will help you quickly understand what we did for this enhancement from the business perspective. This slide shows the top bottom. The background is we have one actual service, Sales Cloud service, and this actual service contains two devices, VM1 and VM2. The business rule shows the definition. We want to suggest all devices not in the ended and canceled phase associated with this service. The screenshot right shows that the actual situation when the service is selected, and then when we click the device, we will notice only two items displayed, VM1 and VM2. Okay, let's move on. Let's see the bottom-up result. The same background. We have the actual Sales Cloud actual service contains two VM devices. The binary list that the service associated with this device. Here's the result. After we select the device, VM1, you will notice on the service drop-down list, there are only one service will be displayed. That is a Sales Cloud service and the parent CI of this device. Okay, let's move on. One more thing. If the CMS is upgraded from previous release to this release, the Universal Discovery Content Pack 23.4 is required. Otherwise, this bottom-up will not work.
In this release, we had done a performance improvement for the native SECOM. The problem is there are a huge amount of the indexing jobs running in the backend for the SECOM entities. And this job occupied a large amount of the disk I/O, eventually causing the disk to become unavailable, and then the entire system will be crashed. There are two causes for this issue. The first one is the inconsistent watch list and the index list. We identified a list of attributes for each entity which will be watched. And once it's changed, a new index job will start to run to update the entity. However, there is a defect that will trigger an index job by any attribute change, even the attribute is not in the watch list. The second cause is there are lots of redundant indexing attributes which are not required. For example, this is a watch list for device. You can see that there are 38 attributes in the list, but now we reduce them to the 21 fields. You can see that we deleted the IP address because it's a complex JSON string which will cost more resource for indexing. And instead, we would suggest to federate the primary IP address and primary MAC address from the UCMDB and index them into the idle. So to fix the problem, first, we had fixed the defect of the inconsistent watch list and index list. Start from the 24.1. Only the change of the attribute in the watch list will trigger an index job. On the other hand, as I showed in the previous page, we had shortened the indexing list to get better performance. And meanwhile, we allowed the customer to add their own fields to the watch list, but only limited to the string tab. So you can configure the fields from the studio, select the entity type and click the global search. Then you can add your fields here. And this improvement is applicable for all the domains, including the CI migration and daily operation, the CI creation and update for both SANCOM and native SANCOM. Okay, so thanks for watching.
All right, I hope you enjoyed those videos put together by the technical success team. I think some fantastic work there, helping you guide through some of the new capabilities that we've got in SMAX with the last couple of releases. If there's any questions, we'll have a quick look at those, just make sure there's any that's come through. Producer, anything we need to pick up based on those sessions?
No, I don't see any questions.
Okay, all right, not a problem. We'll go to the closeout for today. Obviously, if there are questions about this, watching this video on the recording that'll be made available afterwards, feel free to post them in the community or save them for one of the upcoming sessions, and we'll circle back around to that as needed. As always, with the SMAX user group, you can always go to the registration site, tiny.cc SMAX UG. That will take you to the page with the image you see below on the screen right now. And you can click there to register and then have the invites in your calendar for upcoming sessions. Please check there regularly. We are trying to now get at least a month in advance now listed on the site. We may even look to maybe try and get all of most of this year put up there in a few weeks' time, but always check there. But you can also go to the community pages where you can see all the topics and the recordings from the previously. Just head to tiny.cc SMAX UG topic or go via the community pages and check under the SMAX Learn. All right, upcoming sessions that we've got. So next time we've got Chris from Unlimit IT, who's one of our, should we say, SMAX SMAXperts. He took part in the SMAXpert Showdown as part of SMAXtember last year. In fact, he's been a returning contender in that whole SMAXpert Showdown. Remember, he came in second with the adoption readiness game, which was an interesting approach to building a studio app. So he's going to be joining us in the next session. He's going to talk about what was done to build that app, and also in general some other things around doing apps in Studio. So if you have questions for Chris, feel free to join that session. Be really interactive and should be a good session. We then got obviously the next couple of weeks mapped out. We'll be providing an update on those. We'll probably do some more similar capability deep dives like you've seen today. We may even do a quiz. Who knows? Let's see what happens. And then on April the 3rd, we will be doing our release readiness session. So that's the SMAX AMX 24.2 release readiness on April the 3rd. And obviously that will be followed by our regular post-release readiness office hour session to deal with any questions you got in relation to the release before we start doing, should we say, deep dive capability sessions, or if you've got any general questions about SMAX and how you're implementing and what you're doing. And likewise, if you are interested in sharing use cases, maybe you've seen some of the other people that have helped us out on these sessions, and maybe you get some inspiration with Chris doing a session on the Studio app. We'd love to have you either prepare, share your showcase. We'll help you do all the recording. We'll even present it for you if you want us to, if you don't feel confident in presenting. But just reach out, get in touch, either through the community or to us, the PM team, as normal. All right, with that, thank you very much. This has been the SMAX user group on February the 7th. Thank you, everyone, and see you next time. Goodbye.